Welcome back to Story Mode. Not having a job may have been good, so it gave me more time to play video games, but that's not going to achieve any long-term goals. Welcome to 2002, another year in which Christian Bale gives us a stellar performance in Equilibrium. Well, we've had Superman and Batman, and now...
It's Spider-Man!
Now with all this superhero action, we had to have a horror, and we do, The Ring, based on a 1998 Japanese horror film by the same name.
Okay, this is called the golf course air horn. When people tee off, when they're coming down with their swing, we're gonna blow these air horns.
Surprisingly enough, I have a top 4 in movies for 2002. Number 4 would be Jackass, and this has to be my favourite scene.
Here she goes again.
No, it's another one.
She still hit it pretty good.
Number 3 would be the all-star cast in Gangs of New York.
Fine land, or the foreign hordes defiling it.
Number 2 is Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. A phenomenal movie, but still, Episode 1 was slightly better for me. Well, if you know me all too well, you should have guessed what number 1 is. It's Die Another Day. Not particularly the best Bond film, but still a great watch nevertheless. It's the end of 2002 and I'm selling video games from home. I'm not selling a lot, maybe 10 a week, and that's not going to keep me going. And this wasn't going to help me achieve the goal of getting an R34 GTR. I had to be a lot smarter and buy games in bigger quantities. That way I could sell them cheaper, and that way I could get more customers. Yep, that's what I had to do. So Mandy and I spent a whole week calling all these companies from England, Hong Kong, Japan, and America and buying consoles. That's right, NTSC consoles off those companies and selling them in Australia. Now granted, not many customers, especially in Australia, would want an NTSC console, but there were a few. And we wanted to have that little niche in the market. The other thing is we found a company that would almost be half the price of buying games in bulk lots compared to the other companies I was using. So this meant more profits, and I could also pass on the savings to the customer. Mandy and I had a bit of money in a savings account, so we put it all together and ordered a massive lot. And I'm talking massive, something like 700-800 games at the time on PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox. Once the games come and the customer base started building up, I went from selling 10 games a week to selling 10 games a day. Things were looking up, and at the same time, I was collecting games. Profits were good, but not great. And with all the hard work I put in, like delivering games all around the Melbourne metropolitan area and staying up late so people could come and pick up their games, well, it just wasn't what I hoped it would be. At the time, I have to say, I was really enjoying myself, delivering to people as I said, but it started to wear thin, where I would have to travel from one suburb to the next. And those suburbs were like 2 hours apart. It just wasn't worth it anymore. I had to start charging delivery fees, and then, well, they just may as well go to the local shops and buy games. The biggest selling games at the time would have to be GameCube. You see, in Australia, PlayStation 2, well, mod chips were massive, and I just wouldn't sell many PlayStation 2 original games. Maybe some Japanese exclusives, but not much else. Xbox, well, that wasn't doing so well either. There was just too many games in Australia at the time. I would sometimes work 14 hours a day, and after Mandy and I totaled up our 4-month profit, it was $6,000. That's $346 a week. All the hard work we put in, and what, for a few $100s a week, we put all our savings in, and we honestly thought our return would be more than triple that. Mandy said to give it a few more weeks and see how it goes. The next day, I get 2 customers that want to buy an F-Zero GX from me on the GameCube. Now, it wasn't out in Australia at the time, so I had them market to myself. I think I sold over 50 F-Zero GXs. Now, I would sell them with a special disc that would convert your GameCube so you could play any region. Anyway, these 2 people turn up to my doorstep. I open the door, and there's this guy, probably aged in his 40s, and this woman, and I'd say also maybe in her 40s or 50s. And I asked them to come in, and they're looking at the games. I've got all these GameCube games and Xbox games and PlayStation 2 games, and they're looking at the GameCube games really carefully. And I said, oh, do you want something else? And they said, nah, just F-Zero. And they asked me, how do I import them? How many do I buy? I found those questions to be a little bit too personal. And I said, why are you asking? Guess what happened again? Out with the card, I'm from Nintendo. And I've got to cease importing games immediately. It's illegal to parallel importing. This happened to me in my shop almost 10 years to the day. Well, it wasn't to the day, but it was very, very close, like to the month or something like that. I just couldn't believe this bad luck I'm having with Nintendo, a company that I love. So I just decided to stop advertising and do it word of mouth until I finished selling those games. Mandy came home, I explained the whole Nintendo thing to her, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And she said, well, I've got great news. Don't worry about that. I've got a job that's right up your alley to do with computers. It's long hours, which I do like, and it's perfect for me. And it's anti-hacking for a telecommunications company. This means I have to track back hackers that are trying to hack mobile phones, and they were basic back then, computers or anything of that nature. I said, done, I'll take it. What's the money like? And she said, unbelievable. It's really good paying, and I could go for an interview sometime this week. I went for an interview that went great, and with hours, I got the job. The next day I started, and it was incredible. Mandy was right, it was long hours, sometimes 13 hours a day. Is that legal?
I will make it legal.
And it was stressful, yes, but high paying. I didn't know what to do with the money. Buy an R34 GTR or make a massive video game collection.